Okay, continuing with our combined percents practice, let's take a look at question 8. The bike is currently on sale at a store for 15.75% off. The original price of the bike is $300. We want to know how much the bike is going to cost to purchase. So we're going to employ our final price formula. We know that in Canada, the final price of a product will be 105%, which takes care of the tax, the GST, of a discounted percent. If we are saving 15.75%, we're still going to have 100. Take away that 15.75%, which leaves us with 84.25% of the regular price. So let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. We know in this case that our regular price is $300, and so that is going to go over here. That means our unknown is isolated, and we can just go ahead and calculate. So I'm going to start by converting to decimal. So my 105% is 1.05 as a decimal. 84.25% is 0.8425 as a decimal. Of is multiply, and my regular price is 300. So using my calculator, I'm going to go 1.05 times 0.8425 times 300. And I'm going to get that my final price is $265.387. And so we'll say the bike will cost $265.39 after rounding. In question 9, we have a percent of a percent question. So Sally has decided to invest $800 of her savings, and her annual growth rate, annual meaning each year, is 4.5%. So that means at the end of each year, you will have 100% of the money you already had, plus you've grown by 4.5% of the previous year, or of the start of the year, let's say. And so you'll have 104.5% of the start of the year. And that's paid each year. So let's think about this. At year 0, she has $800. Immediately after she's invested it, she has $800. It hasn't been a year yet. At the end of year 1, she is going to have 104.5% of that 800. We've grown by 4.5%, so that's a 4.5% increase, giving us 104.5% overall. At the end of year 2, we're going to have 104.5% of the start of year 2. But what value did we have at the start of year 2? Well, we had that 104.5% of 800 that we finished year 1 with. And this continues onwards for all of our years. So at the end of year 3, we're going to have 104.5% of whatever we started year 3 with, but we started year 3 with the value that we had at the end of year 2. And so that was 104.5% of the 104.5% of the 800. And this just continues onwards. So at the end of year 4, we'll have another 104.5% of all that stuff that we previously had. Just going to copy paste it. All that. And at the end of year 5, we'll have a final 104.5% on top of everything else that we already had. So in terms of our calculation then, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our 1.045 decimals to account for the 5 years of 4.5% growth. and then times our original value of 800. And so when we do that, make sure you count the correct number of 1.045s, and you multiply that by your 800. You should end up with Sally having 996.945. The 45 is going to round up to just a $5 at the end of year 5. So this is that classic percent of a percent, where each year we're 104.5% of the previous year, but the previous year itself was 104.5% of something else, so we're stacking those percents of percents. The fancy name for this is composite interest. Okay, question 10 is very similar. There is one important difference. So a gymnast increases his height by 10% after each jump, which means that each jump will be 100% plus the 10% increase. You'll have 110% overall. So the difference here is that they tell us that after the first jump, you just are at 1.2 meters, right? He reached 1.2 meters after his first jump, so we don't have any percent there yet. After the second jump will be 110% of the first jump, and the first jump itself was 1.2 meters. So after the third jump, we'll have a grand increase by 110% from our second jump, and this is a calculation we can now do. So multiplying those out on our calculators gives us 1.452 meters after the third jump. And rounding that to the nearest hundredth, I'll say he reached 1.45 meters after third jump. So the difference between these questions is that in our interest question, they kind of gave us a year 0 before any interest had happened. And in this question, they told us after the first jump. So the importance there is just paying attention to how many of your increases do you need to get up to the value that they're asking. Here, for after the third jump, we've only had 2 increases on our 1.2, whereas here, after the 5th year, we did have 5 increases of our 4.5. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're counting out those jumps, those years, whatever it happens to be in your percent of percent questions accurately. So I hope that these videos have helped you understand your combined percent problems.